The next few days felt strange for Sam. The weight of the key in their pocket was a constant reminder of the moment that had changed everything. Sam had walked away from Evelyn's apartment that night, uncertain about what to think of the strange gift she had given them, a key to her apartment. At first, Sam had convinced themselves it was nothing more than a simple act of kindness, a gesture made out of pity or politeness. But as the days went on, they couldn't shake the feeling that Evelyn had meant something more by it. Sam had thought about it every day, wondering why Evelyn would offer a stranger access to her life. Was it trust, or was there something deeper at play? Sam hadn't used the key yet. They had told themselves they would just wait until they could figure out what it all meant. But each time they saw the key resting on their kitchen counter, they felt an unexpected pull. It felt like an invitation, but also a challenge. What if I just went over there? What if I knocked first instead of just barging in again? But Sam didn't. They stayed away, too afraid to cross that line. Until one evening, when they finally decided to stop waiting for answers. They had to go. It was a quiet, chilly evening when Sam stood in front of Evelyn's door. The streets were still. The only sound was the faint rustling of leaves in the wind. Sam hesitated, then pulled the key from their pocket. They stood there for a moment, holding it in their hand, wondering if they were doing the right thing. But before they could talk themselves out of it, they slid the key into the lock. The door clicked open. Evelyn was sitting on the couch, reading a book when Sam entered. She looked up, surprised but not startled. There was no anger in her eyes, only curiosity. For a moment, Sam felt like an intruder, standing there in her personal space. But Evelyn's calmness seemed to melt away the tension. "You came," Evelyn said, her voice soft, almost amused. Sam nodded, feeling a mix of nervousness and relief. I hope I'm not interrupting," Evelyn smiled, setting her book aside. "Not at all. I thought you might show up eventually." Sam stepped inside, feeling the warmth of the apartment wrap around them. The place was cozy, nothing extravagant, just simple and inviting. The walls were lined with bookshelves filled with novels and old records. It was the kind of place that made you feel safe, like time moved slower here. There was a comforting calm in the air that Sam couldn't quite explain. "I didn't know what to expect," Sam admitted, still standing by the door. Evelyn gestured to the couch. "Sit, make yourself at home. I'm not going to bite." Her voice was teasing, but there was no malice in it. Only a kind of understanding that made Sam feel oddly at ease. Sam took a seat, carefully avoiding any more awkwardness. They glanced around the room, taking in the small details, the soft lighting, the framed photographs on the walls. It felt different. This wasn't just an apartment. It was a life, a history, and Evelyn, despite her calm exterior, was very much a part of it. "You know," Evelyn began, her tone casual, "I didn't expect you to come here like this. I thought you might just keep your distance after—" "Well, after what happened?" Sam's eyes widened, unsure of what to say. They hadn't expected Evelyn to bring up the broken door, but somehow hearing her mention it made the situation feel more real. "I didn't mean to cause any trouble. I didn't know what else to do." Evelyn nodded, her gaze soft. "I know. I understand more than you think." Sam shifted uncomfortably in their seat. "But why did you give me the key?" they asked, the question that had been haunting them finally slipping out. Evelyn didn't immediately answer. She studied Sam for a moment, as if weighing something inside herself. Then slowly she spoke. "I gave it to you because I know what it feels like to be afraid, to feel like you don't have anyone you can trust. And when you broke my door down, I saw something in you, a kind of desperation maybe, but also a desire to help. And I thought, maybe you needed a way to reach out. Maybe we both do." Sam's chest tightened at her words. There was a vulnerability in her voice, something that Sam hadn't expected. Evelyn, the woman who always seemed so composed, so distant, was opening up to them in a way that felt almost intimate. "I don't know if I deserve it," Sam muttered, unsure of how to process what Evelyn had just said. "I've always kept to myself. I never ask for help." "You don't have to ask," Evelyn replied gently. Sometimes you just need to take a step forward, even when it's scary. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable, but filled with something unspoken, a kind of understanding between them. Sam didn't know what to say. They hadn't expected this conversation to go like this, to feel this real, but somehow, Evelyn's words made sense. "I don't want to mess things up between us," Sam said, their voice quieter now. Evelyn leaned forward slightly, her gaze steady. "You're not messing anything up. But if you ever feel like you need to talk or just be here, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to push you away." The reassurance in her words settled into Sam's chest like a weight lifting. For the first time in what felt like forever, they didn't feel so alone. "I don't really know how to be around people," Sam admitted, their voice small. "I'm not good at relationships." Evelyn smiled softly. "You don't have to be good at anything. You just have to be yourself." Sam looked at Evelyn, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and something deeper, something more complicated. They weren't sure what this was, what was happening between them, but it felt like something important. The evening passed slowly with quiet conversation and moments of comfortable silence. Sam was surprised at how easily the time seemed to slip away in Evelyn's company. They talked about small things, books they liked, music they listened to, and even shared a laugh over silly things. It wasn't like anything Sam had ever experienced before. It wasn't complicated. It was just simple. As the night wore on, Sam felt the distance between them shrink. They hadn't come here for answers, but somehow they were starting to find them. They didn't need grand gestures or promises. They just needed to be here in this space, with each other. When it was time to leave, Sam stood up, feeling reluctant to go. "I should let you get some rest," they said quietly. Evelyn walked with them to the door. "You're welcome here anytime," she said softly. "You don't need to knock next time. The key will always work." Sam nodded, the key heavy in their pocket. They didn't have the words to express how much this moment meant to them, but they hoped Evelyn knew. As Sam stepped out into the cool night air, they realized something. They weren't just walking away from an apartment. They were walking away from a place where they felt understood, and that, more than anything else, felt like home. It was a typical evening in the quiet neighborhood of Maple Street. The sun had just set, casting long shadows across the rows of identical houses. For most people, it was a time to wind down, relax, and enjoy the calmness of a suburban life. But for Sam, that evening was different. Sam had never been the type to get easily worked up. Normally, they kept to themselves. A quiet soul who preferred the solitude of their apartment to the noise of the world. But tonight something felt off. It was a feeling Sam couldn't shake, a restlessness that gnawed at the edges of their mind. The sounds from next door had started again. Faint, at first, like whispers that brushed against the walls of their apartment. But then it grew louder, a thumping noise followed by muffled voices. Sam couldn't make out the words, but the tone was enough. Something was wrong. Sam had never been close to their neighbor, Evelyn. They had exchanged polite nods in the hallway or casual greetings when passing by in the parking lot. But that was the extent of their relationship. Evelyn was always a mystery, someone who kept to herself, someone with a quiet strength that Sam admired, but also someone who seemed distant, untouchable. But tonight, that distance felt dangerous. Sam's heart raced as they pressed their ear against the wall. The sounds next door grew more frantic. A crash, a door slamming. Sam couldn't stand it any longer. The unease inside them exploded, and before they knew it, their hands were reaching for the doorknob, pulling on their jacket, and rushing out the door. They didn't think. They couldn't. All Sam knew was that Evelyn needed help. Sam stumbled across the narrow hallway, then down the stairs. The sounds continued. There was no time to waste. The thoughts raced through their mind. What if something terrible was happening? What if Evelyn was in danger? When Sam reached the door to Evelyn's apartment, they hesitated. The fear in their chest grew. "What am I doing?" But the noise from inside, the panic, was enough to push Sam forward. They didn't knock. They didn't wait. They just raised their shoulder and threw their weight against the door. The wood splintered with a loud crack and the door flew open. Inside, Everything was still. The room was dim, lit only by the light coming from the small kitchen. Evelyn stood in the center of the room, staring at Sam, her expression unreadable. The air was thick with tension. "Evelyn?" Sam's voice cracked, but they couldn't stop themselves. "Are you okay?" "I heard." Evelyn raised her hand, cutting Sam off. She looked down at the broken door, her face calm, almost detached. For a moment, there was silence between them, a silence that stretched into something heavy, something awkward. Then she spoke. "You broke down my door." Sam's face flushed with embarrassment. I thought you were in trouble. The noises. I thought you needed help." Evelyn's gaze softened, but only slightly. She didn't seem angry, not really. Instead, she took a slow step toward Sam, her voice low. "You don't need to break down doors to help me." Sam stood there, not sure what to say. The chaos inside them slowly started to settle, but it was replaced by a strange feeling of guilt. "I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have acted without thinking." Evelyn seemed to sense Sam's inner turmoil. She crossed the room, picked up a key from the table, and held it out toward Sam. "I know you didn't mean to break my door," she said quietly, "but just in case you feel the need to again here, this is a key to my apartment. So you don't have to next time." Sam stared at the key in Evelyn's hand, their mind racing. A key. Evelyn was offering them a key to her apartment. It didn't make sense. Why would she do that? After the way they had just barged in, after breaking down her door, why would she trust them enough to give them access to her private space? For a moment, Sam didn't take the key. They just stared at it, uncertain. Evelyn's calm, almost unreadable expression made them feel small and unsure. But at the same time, there was a warmth in her eyes that Sam couldn't ignore. Something about her calmness, her quiet understanding, made Sam feel as though they could trust her. As though maybe, just maybe, Evelyn understood. I didn't mean to cause any trouble," Sam muttered, feeling foolish. "I just heard the noise and I thought you were in danger." Evelyn's lips curved into the smallest of smiles. "I'm fine, Sam, but sometimes the fear we feel can make us act without thinking. I get it. You wanted to help. But next time, just knock." Sam nodded, feeling both embarrassed and oddly comforted by Evelyn's gentle words. "I'm really sorry," they said again. I'll fix the door. I'll pay for the damage." Evelyn shook her head. "It's just a door. Besides, it's already broken. The only thing that matters is that you're here. Just promise me something." Sam looked up, their eyes meeting Evelyn's. "Anything." "Don't break my door again," she said with a soft laugh, her tone light but with an underlying seriousness. "You don't need to act like a hero. Just come by if you want to talk. If you need anything, okay?" Sam didn't know what to say at first. Part of them wanted to refuse. "I'm not the kind of person who just walks into someone else's life," they thought. But then there was something in Evelyn's words that felt genuine, like an invitation. Something Sam hadn't felt in a long time. An invitation to be seen, to not be alone. "I will," Sam replied softly, taking the key from Evelyn's hand. The moment their fingers brushed, a strange energy passed between them. It was almost like a quiet promise, one that neither of them fully understood but both felt. As Sam turned to leave, Evelyn's voice stopped them. "Sam, don't worry. You're not alone. Not in this. Not anymore." And with that, Sam left, the key to Evelyn's apartment heavy in their pocket. The walk back to their own apartment felt different now. The weight on Sam's chest wasn't as suffocating. They hadn't expected this, hadn't expected to feel lighter after breaking down a door. But somehow, Evelyn's simple gesture had done more for Sam than anything else could have. They didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, Sam felt a small flicker of hope. Maybe they didn't have to face the world alone. Maybe, just maybe, there was more to Evelyn than they had ever realized.